They suggested pineapple, and I was like, how about crazy pineapple? Let's make it a little more crazy.
It's the Poker News Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 903rd episode of the Poker News Podcast. I'm Chad Holloway, joined at Level 9 Studio by Jennifer Shahade, PokerStars, Team and Pro, Team Ambassador. I don't know what the technical title is now.
All good. Whatever you make up.
Right, whatever we go with. And Josh Abady, who is live Melbourne.
I'll play live.
Play live. Sorry about that, but one of my favorite spots. We're going to get into it here in a little bit. We got a good show today. We're, of course, going to follow up with what is going to be the biggest story of the summer, I think, and that is collusion, chip dumping from the millionaire maker and kind of where things stand. Mike Holtz and I did a special episode that you can check out, 902, where we really dove into it. We're going to talk about the canceled guarantee at to go the Nugget and kind of how do you feel about that? And not good, I'm going to say. Recent tournament winners. I'm going to tell you about Hellmuth's Home Game, a new show that is debuting on Monday. We'll talk about the ladies event at the WSOP. And then we'll preview the NAPT because, that PokerStars connection. So welcome, you two. I want to ask right off the bat, I didn't know you guys knew each other when we were lining this up, but apparently you guys do. How do you know each other?
From chess.
Yeah.
From chess, of course.
Josh is a chess expert, right? Were you master? Did you get to?
I never got to master. All
Not
of my
yet.
friends did except
Not
for
yet.
me. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Not yet.
And I also had on my podcast, The Grid, and I know that he's known as one of the extroverts in the poker world, the rare extroverts who likes to talk it up at the table and have a good time. So,
and you're wearing an awesome chess bracelet, which I think is really cool. I know people who are listening to this can't see it, but it's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yes, it's I got all the little chess pieces stuck on because while I was here, I had to do some chess events. So
right, and that's real quick. The Grid. What's the status of that? It's a great podcast. I've listened to many episodes over the years. It's some great guests, but I know the Grid isn't complete yet.
No, it's not. It's actually half done.
Oh, halfway.
It's half done,
okay.
Yeah. So we got a really good smattering of hands. I can't even remember what you had, Josh. I think it was like 9-5 off.
No, I originally pitched you that, but I ended up doing Queen Jack suited.
Queen Jack suited. Okay, so you took a good one. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's done Queen 9 offsuit, but that's what I won my bracelet with. So that's always been one of my favorite hands.
Maybe. I feel like Doug Polk might have taken that, but I'll have to check.
Doug.
I'll have to check the Grid. It's always Doug.
It's always Doug. Well, speaking of Doug, he did do a video on this Millie Maker situation involving Jesse Yaginuma and James Carroll. Like I said, we dove into the specifics in the last episode, but I'm just curious from, industry insiders, players' perspective, what do you guys think about this whole situation? As it stands right now, as we're recording, there's still no resolution. The WSOP is still investigating. If that changes between now and when this publishes, I'll, of course, jump in here and do a little update. But as of right now, what do you guys think? Jen, I know you put out a tweet saying essentially anybody involved should probably be speaking with a lawyer right now.
Absolutely. You want to get represented as an individual when you're, potentially in some things that could get litigious with a corporation. 100%. Really important. But I actually hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope there's a quick resolution and some serious postmortem on the rules and how this even came to be.
Right.
Because as a lot of people have been pointing out, you could have anticipated that something like this might have happened and, we don't want it to happen again.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have a bunch of kind of diametrically opposed perspectives. Obviously, I own my own card room. So from the operator's perspective, it's kind of like, how dare they? But from the player's perspective, I watched the whole final table and they clearly weren't colluding up to that point, in my opinion. All the hands looked normal. So it's like once there's $1 million incentive, ironically, I was talking to my roommate and I was like, I wouldn't take it. I'd play for the bracelet. I'd be like, screw you. I have a 10-1 lead. I'm taking this bracelet all the way home. But of course, it's only logical that they're going to try and find a way. It's third place money each on top of what they're getting. So I agree with Jen very much that one, they should both speak to a lawyer. But two, that it's really on the operators to create an environment where this isn't possible, right? In a lot of tournaments, you could just make a deal and this would be a non-issue. Of course, the World Series wants the bracelets to be prestigious. So they don't want people making deals, which I totally respect. But then they have to have, clear communication on what happens in a scenario like this.
Absolutely. In chess, we don't have nearly as much money at stake. And I feel like people have thought about this stuff a lot longer and harder, which is kind of ironic. Actually, one time I was playing for a U.S. championship title and we had a similar type of situation. I wasn't playing for millions, but the title is very prestigious in the chess world. It can serve you for your whole career. And it was an asymmetric situation where my opponent wasn't playing for a title. So if I win or even draw, I get the title.
Mm.
You know, so
Right.
you can see, hey, this is just like a really problematic potential situation. Actually, it's a friend of mine. His name is Ben Feingold, great guy, even though he beat me.
Denied the title.
believe
What an
that?
ass. Damn it, Ben.
He played C4, won C4. Like
You're
I'm
like, oh, so you do want to draw.
I'm like, what? I'm like, I play terrible against 1C4. It's
Yeah,
like,
me too.
it's not what I want.
You guys are speaking a new
Yeah,
language
we're-
to me,
Yes,
which I
yes.
get because I speak poker with around my friends and they don't
What's a poker
understand.
analogy to it? Well, the point of the matter is that he just went for it and he beat
Right.
me, despite the fact that we were friends, despite the fact that there was this asymmetric situation. And you know what? I, of course, didn't hold it against him, but there are a lot of people in chess who wouldn't do that. They would just be like,
sure.
you know,
Just take an
hey,
easy
it's a
draw.
friend. Let's maybe do a draw. And it is technically cheating actually these days.
Yeah.
Back like 15, 20 years ago, it was like actually like
It's fair game.
the rules weren't as clear.
I think the situation here is that is the issue, right? A lot of people agree they don't have a problem. They're say like, come on, like of course these two are it's $1 million in this situation, and I get that. Like, yeah, if I'm in that situation with somebody I know, it's probably a conversation in the hallway as well. But by the letter of the law, by the WSOP rules, it's at least murky because and I get the point about collusion. It's saying when 2 or more people collude against basically a third party. Well, when there's only 2 people left, does that meet it? But there is chip dumping. There is the spirit of the game, the letter of the law, and the rules. So like the terms and conditions do seem to have been at least tested to the extreme, probably violated. I think that is where not only the WSOP takes issue, but as I said in the last episode, that it's not just the WSOP anymore. It is WSOP, which is now owned by GG, and Caesars, right? Caesars and WSOP used to be one, but now they're separate. And so when something happens at the WSOP, Caesars, as the host property, as the one with the gaming license on the line, has to take this stuff serious. They have to report to the Nevada Gaming Commission. And so when there is a potential violation of the rules, they can't just be like, this one doesn't meet it. It's fine. Like they want to do their due diligence. They want to make sure that everything is up in order. And that's why the investigation is happening. I think the ultimate resolution would be, they're going to say like, all right, you get paid, you get your money. WPT has already said they're going to pay Jesse Yaginuma. In fact, I think we might have video of that I can share in a little bit.
Jesse, first off, congratulations on the performance. You beat a field of nearly 12,000 players. Irrespective of any subsequent allegations, how does it feel now you've had a few days to digest it?
It feels surreal. It's been a wild week, really, since the tournament started, like 8 or 9 days ago. It's been a crazy ride, and just trying to let it sink in.
Did you ever have any doubts that Club WPT would pay out the $1 million bonus?
No, I mean, I was never really sure until I actually get it, but it made sense. It made sense that everyone told me that they were upstanding company, and first guy won, got the $1 million. So no, I was never too worried.
Thank you. Right, let's get into it. When did you first hear about the allegations of chip dumping, and what was your reaction? Sorry.
It was probably later that night after a tournament, and I was surprised and disappointed that they weren't trying to pay out the money. They told me about the investigation. There was not much I could do at the time. I contacted some people, see what was going on, but hopefully it was over so soon.
Just a couple more. Do you believe the criticism is fair, or is it just poker Twitter being poker Twitter?
There's always going to be some drama in the poker world. One thing this week, another thing next week. People are going to have their opinions. I can't control that, but I've had an overwhelming amount of support from my peers in the poker community, and I'm appreciative of that.
Finally, what are your thoughts on deal chops at the end of tournaments? Do you think it should have been an option?
I do think it should have been an option in general. People are playing for a lot of money at the end of tournaments, and it's their money. They should be able to do what they do as long as it doesn't affect any of the other players in a negative way. So I would like to see venues facilitate chops in general, yes.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But my question to the next one would be this: like where you talk about the environment, it's like this wasn't a Club WPT Gold went to the WSOP and said, "Hey, let's work together and we'll offer this promotion." This is WSOP very much staying in their lane, doing their thing, and Club WPT saying, "You know what? let's do this guerrilla marketing campaign. Let's piggyback off the WSOP for our own purposes. Let's rent out Old Red, which isn't part of the horseshoe, but sits literally on the corner next to it so that we're as close as we can be to the WSOP. We can host parties. We can draw players over here. And it's caused some chaos, obviously. So, like, what do you think about that aspect of it? Of, like, it's not like WSOP and WPT should get together and figure this thing out, because they are competitors, they're enemies, and the one is really doing the best to fuck up the other right now.
Wait, are you saying that there was no partnership at
No,
all? Like
none.
there was
Yeah.
no. Oh, I thought that like.
I think a lot of people do think that.
Wow.
See,
Yeah.
I knew it was just well played from WPT.
Yeah.
It's just like McDonald's sticking it to Burger King, or whatever analogy you want, Coke and Pepsi. I mean, I personally, like, as a guy who's worked in poker marketing for a few years, it's so well played from WPT's side, because the more controversy, the more clicks, the more focus on their promotion. I'm sure this isn't how they predicted it or how they wanted it to go, but at the end of the day, it will pay off for them. It's like the all press is good press attitude. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough question on how they're meant to resolve it.
And I don't know if there's anything from a legal perspective that WSOP could do. I'm sure they're exploring it. Like, from what I'm hearing, the WSOP is pissed about this whole scenario, this whole situation. Not that necessarily, that this, just basically like the mess that it's created. It's not a good look for the WSOP. I mean, this got front page, ESPN, mainstream media attention. The Caesars are probably upset. It's just caused them a lot of headaches. So I wonder if they're going to try to find a way to, like, put a stop to this sort of thing in the future, or if they're even able to. I don't know. Like, it's like Club WPT Gold isn't saying go out and win a WSOP bracelet. They're just saying win a bracelet, right? So, like, they're smart about not violating probably trademarks. They're not using the WSOP logo and such. And I don't know. What do you think, Jen, about this? Knowing this revelation about Club WPT, like, didn't get permission. They didn't work in conjunction. They were just like, we're gonna throw this out there and see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough spot for WSOP, absolutely, because you start doing the thought experiment. When I first heard about the promotion, I kind of assumed that I didn't really look into it in that much depth, obviously. And I assumed that, maybe there was an insurer who was covering it, and that it was very unlikely for somebody to get one of the $1 million prizes, because I didn't realize how many of these gold tickets they were giving out. But then when you find out that actually it's happened twice.
Right, twice.
Wow, yes, that is. Yeah, that's
so far. There's still a lot of events to happen,
still a few
too.
weeks to go.
Yeah, that is really a tricky spot for WSOP, because you don't want that. It's going to be inevitable that sometimes you're going to have asymmetric prize awards, where some people are playing for one thing and the other person playing for another thing. For instance, bracelet side bets, player of the year competition, right? That kind of thing. There's sometimes going to be something like that, right? But it's kind of better to have it be reduced, that people are playing for the same thing, don't you think?
Yeah, I think even playing field is always better. And I can't also help but wonder of, like, will WSOP, like I know some of the people behind the WSOP. This whole WPT versus WSOP thing has been brewing for a little while. With, you have the WPT World Championship at the Wynn in December. Well, guess what? WSOP said, let's do Paradise down in the Bahamas, and they're overlapping a lot. So who's to say, GG and the folks at WSOP don't say, all right, you know what? Come December, WPT Championship, we're going to run some sort of promotion to piggyback off it. Or maybe we just throw a bigger tournament at the Horseshoe with a bigger guarantee on it or something. Who knows? But, like, I just don't see, like, this is a situation between these two competing entities in the poker world. Like, I don't see them working in conjunction anytime soon. I feel like this is going to be a going to war sort of situation. What do you think, Josh?
It's the beauty of American capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to go to war forever until, there's no one left standing. But in some ways that makes the industry better, because they're constantly incentivized
It's good for players.
to improve the product or put on bigger guarantees, whatever it is. I think from the rules perspective, one of the issues is that if I'm not a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer, I'm surrounded by a lot of lawyers. Like, the law is very specific. So the issue with having a rule like no chip dumping is that phrase has a bunch of implied context. And if you look at the WSOP rules, it's very hard to figure out exactly what constitutes chip dumping, right? Like if they took it to a court of law and their lawyers say, well, they weren't chip dumping, they were just playing heads up, prove it otherwise.
I'm playing worse than usual.
Exactly, right? They were tired and there was a lot on the
exactly.
line. And, and it's like the burden of proof obviously isn't on them to say that they weren't colluding. It's on the other side to prove that they were, right? They're just playing their poker tournament and whatever happens every day. So I think like that's part of the problem is they have to get more granular with the rules and be like, okay, here are examples of chip dumping, right? And that's something we've been working on. Like our card room is like, okay, we have a no harassment policy. Like don't be an asshole at the table. But what exactly constitutes being an asshole, right? There's always going to be people that kind of push the boundary. So you have to set the boundary as clearly as possible.
No, I'm imagining a jury saying like, wait, but he jammed all in with aces. Don't you understand?
Don't you understand? That makes no
How
sense.
bad that is.
He should always min raise,
It's the best hand.
Yeah.
But I think also that this promo, listen, it's money for the players. I love to see poker players getting money, but it's funny because of the asymmetric issues. Part of me wonders why not just go back to the randomness of like that promo, like the beef jerky promo with like 4 jacks. Like just like you have this gold ticket and you get a certain hand, you win the million. Because then like it's just like okay, or like if you win a hand with a jack of hearts and if you win the tournament with like a jack in your hand or a queen or like whatever it is.
Right.
Like just something where it's like
Mystery
your chances
style.
of having the gold ticket gives you a chance to like win the million, but it's not based on actual strong play. It's like based on something a little bit random at the final table.
Well, let's talk about another big story that happened, and that is down at the Golden Nugget, the Grand Poker Series, which has been happening for many, many years. They had a $1,200 buy-in tournament that was advertised as a $1 million guarantee. The Golden Nugget has done a $1 million guarantee the last several years, I believe. Part of it a few years ago was the PokerNews Cup, which was a great success. I think the biggest tournament in Golden Nugget history. But things have changed since then. There's been some turnover, different staff and things like that. So this tournament isn't the only one that they changed the guarantee or dropped the guarantee or made it, what's the new buzzword, like estimated prize pool.
Yes,
or
everyone's doing that now.
Projected.
Projected, yeah.
That's what we used to do in Chaz.
Yes.
Yeah?
You get
Projected.
the email. It's like 20K projected.
Okay. Well, they did this on several events. I think it started back in early June. I started seeing murmurs on social media, but these were for smaller events. So this one with a 7-figure guaranteed prize pool, or what was supposed to be, it was day 1A of the tournament. Only like a dozen people were there. They started playing when they realized that the $1 million guarantee wasn't a thing anymore. Even though it was still appearing on the website and one of the PDFs, they had changed it elsewhere. And anyways, the players were upset. They were like, we don't want to play this. Some of them were like, we don't want to play this. It's too bad. You're already playing. No refunds. They took it to the higher up who's like, all right, we're going to cancel this, at least this flight, and refund the money. But it was just, I don't know, from an optics standpoint, Josh, you run a poker room. Like, what do you make of this situation?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Guarantees, they're tough because as a business, they don't necessarily just have $1 million in cash on hand, right? So if no one shows up, it could literally end their business. I mean, we're on a much smaller scale. My business is new, so we're doing like 20K guarantees, 50K guarantees. We're even in our upcoming series, we have like an 100K and 150K. But we tried to pick numbers that we're very confident we can hit. And in the times where we've overlaid, we've just eaten the cost. I mean, it's your responsibility as the operator to eat the cost if you screw up, right? I do think maybe guarantees are not the best thing conceptually. Like it's very risky for businesses and you're dependent on a player pool that's very unreliable, right? Poker players are very flaky and it's hard to predict what they'll do. But I do think that if you're going to put your money where your mouth is, then you have to be prepared to eat the risk. I'm doing it on a much smaller scale and with a lot less money and no huge casino backing us, right? It's just like money we raised ourselves amongst our own community and we're still eating the cost. So I think it's on them to eat the cost.
Yeah. Jen, what's your take on, guarantees in general, and then when somebody slaps one on and only to take it away?
It doesn't seem like it fits the word, right?
Yeah,
It
right?
doesn't fit the definition. And I'm surprised that that's allowed, but given that it happens, I think it just need to use a different word choice. And it occurs to me that maybe if there was a betting market for the number of players that got into an event, the operators could create a better estimate themselves. Because,
Right.
we're notoriously bad at predicting what's going to happen with things that we have a vested interest in because, we're more likely to see it through rose-colored glasses. But if other people were betting on it, maybe they would have a more accurate idea and they wouldn't miss as many guarantees.
Yeah. I'm of the same thought. Like, guarantee has a definition, right? So don't go putting a guarantee on something if you're not willing to guarantee it and live up to it, right? Like, so whenever these things happen, and this isn't the first time, I know the Orleans and other places have done similar, right? And it is within their rights to adjust it because it's in the fine print. But like,
It is.
for me as a player, when they do that, it's like, all right, I've lost trust in, right? You've guaranteed me something. You're not honoring that guarantee. We're not going to do business anymore. And by that, I mean, like, I'm probably not going to play in your room anymore or in your events anymore. When I worked for the MSPT, we had this conversation a lot, especially in our stops in Colorado, because it's in the mountains and we want to put a big guarantee on it to attract people. But the times a year, like, snowstorms could come, the passes could get shut, and we could literally, like you said, lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the tour was in a position where they could absorb that, but they don't want to, right? And so it's always interesting. I think from my perspective as a player, as a media person, and as somebody who's worked for a tour, is I think guarantees should be more strategically used and only for certain events, right? So the WPT World Championship, if they want to throw one on there, things like that, or like a flagship event at a series at a place, but like, doesn't have to be for every event. I would rather find other ways to incentivize players, such as one of my favorites now is show up on time, pay less rake or no rake, right? Because another issue is getting people to start these tournaments and get them going. Because sometimes there's been events where it's like, all right, I want to play this event. I'm excited about it, but there's only 4 people. All right, I'm not going to register. Then nobody registers and it gets canceled. So I don't know, what do you guys think about something like that? Different incentives as opposed to guarantees.
I think it's definitely a good idea. It's one of those things where it's like a bit of I don't know if it's catch-22 is the right expression, but there's a chicken and the egg problem where players have come to expect the guarantees, and that's what drives their behavior. So you have to like recondition them. My room, we don't charge rake, but we have like a food and beverage like hospitality package, and we actually like feed the players. It's not just snacks and nonsense. And we've been doing things like that. We're a smaller place. It's like, hey, first 9 runners in whatever event, you get it for free or half price or whatever it is. We've been trying those types of incentives, and they definitely work to an extent, but they don't. Like, they get people to show up on time, and that gets the fence sitters to play, but it doesn't get new people to come out. So it sort of serves a different marketing purpose. It's like good for customer conversion and retention, but not as great for customer acquisition. So, but I do think like you're barking up the right tree. Like, we have to find other ways than here's a bunch of money, please come, right? Like, it has to be something a little bit more creative than that.
Right.
I love that. I'm just thinking really big letters, guaranteed, and then in small print, food.
Yeah. Guaranteed to be fun.
Well, something that was a lot of fun were 2 meetup games that took place here in Las Vegas during the World Series of Poker. One was the PokerNews meetup game that we did at the new poker room at Planet Hollywood. Had a blast. We're going to show some video here in a moment. And then there was the PokerStars meetup game at Resorts World, where they gave away the first seat to this year's NAPT coming up in November. We were there at both. Check out some of these highlights. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chad Holloway from the Poker News podcast here at the new poker room at Planet Hollywood. You can see behind me the Poker News meetup game is going strong. Bunch of no limit hold'em cash games, and the table not right behind me, the one behind that is a 4-8 dealer's choice going on. 7 different games in the mix. It's a lot of fun. It's a Friday night. They got it going on at Planet Hollywood. You need to come out and check out this room. We're doing giveaways. We're giving shirts, books. They're giving away a grand prize of a signed Daniel Negreanu 50K PPC winner's photo. It's going to be given away to a random raffle winner. We're having a lot of fun. The drinks are flowing. It's the Poker News meetup game. One of the players in the dealer's choice is Christopher Keem. You are known as a poker dealer, but you also went deep in the casino employees event. Why are you spending your night off here with us at the Poker News meetup game?
I don't get to play a whole lot of dealer's choice games. Usually if these kind of games are running, I'm kind of dealing them. So it's one of the rare opportunities I get to play.
All right, we are here at the Poker News meetup game with the Poker Prophet, representing WPT Global. And are you having fun? Are you winning here tonight?
I'm having fun. I'm winning. I came here for the people. Like, I don't live in the U.S., so there are many people that I don't know. And here is a good opportunity to know some nice people, some people that know about things I don't. Like I live a different reality from you guys. I live in Brazil.
All right, another player, a bracelet winner, fellow bracelet winner, won the first ever 5K seniors high roller?
First ever seniors high roller, yeah, 5K. I had a feeling I was going to win this thing. The first ever, starting in March of last year. And I told everybody, it's like, look, before Negreanu and REA and all these guys hit 50, it's like, I'm going out in 2024 and taking this thing down. I did. I talked about it for months. And then there it is.
He's wearing it. WSOP brace.
It is awesome.
All right, I've been running my ass off around here, doing giveaways, bomb pots, talking to people. I actually want to play in this PokerNews meetup game. So anyways, I gotta go. The blind's about to come. Chad Holloway from the PokerNews podcast here at Resorts World Las Vegas for the PokerStars meetup game, where they are going to give away the first main event seat, $5,300, to this year's NAPT, which will be taking place here in November. We're going to go in, check it out, and see what's going on. I am with Marley at the PokerStars meetup game at Resorts World. You just said you were playing a little bit, but picked up?
Yeah, well, I picked up. They forced me to get up because I lost all my chips. So.
And you want to give a seat to somebody who could possibly win this NAPT Gold Pass, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing event, and I think that anybody who wins it will have a great time playing it.
And I've been telling every table, I hope it's you that win it. And of course I'm being honest every time.
And are you going to be back here in Resorts World come November for the NAPT?
100%. I will be back here for the NAPT in November. I love that event. Just the PokerStars vibes, beautiful Vegas in November. Really excited.
You used to wear the PokerStars patch, but what inspired you to come over here and join the festivities?
Well, I came here for the daily tournament. The noon daily tournament here is always a good deal. And then here's this promotion with a free shot at 5,300. So I decided to
jump back into the no limit streets.
I don't usually play no limit cash.
How does this work? People are here, they're playing 1-2 or 2-5, but like, how are they actually going to get a shot at this thing?
I think we have 6 tables going right now, and the way we're going to win is we're going to have a flip-ament, but we're not going to do it standard hold'em. We're actually, they suggested pineapple, and I was like, how about crazy pineapple? Let's make it a little more crazy. So we're going to do an all-in, basically, an all-in shootout with a hand of crazy pineapple. All those winners are going to do another hand of crazy pineapple until we have just one winner of crazy pineapple for the main event seat.
All right, that's going to do it for the PokerStars meetup game. Goshi Marita is your first winner of a main event seat in the 2025 NAPT. We will be back here at Resorts World in November. We'll see you then.
And he raises with pocket jacks from the button. Pocket jacks don't bother me anymore. I play with a 48-card deck.
I probably shouldn't have called that.
And I probably shouldn't have married someone I met at a Jiffy Lube.
Oh, let's go! Yes!
Hey, great hand, buddy. Well, where do you keep the good snacks? It's not just about playing. It's about winning and proving you've got what it takes. Download now and join the action.
All right, we are back to talk recent tournament winners presented by WPT Global. I'm going to start with one that I actually had to live report for just a little bit, which was event number 63, $1,500 deuce to 7 lowball triple draw, 635 runners. You don't see this in WSOP very often, especially nowadays with the field sizes the way they are, but we had a back-to-back winner, a defending champ who defended his title. I'm talking about Aaron Cummings, taking it down for $157,000. I don't know them off the top of my head, like the back-to-back winners. I know Dan Cates did it in the 50K PPC recently. Thang Lu did it in like 2009 and 10 and then 08 event. But like, I don't know, like this, I think it's getting overshadowed with what happened in the Millie Maker and the PPC and all these other big events. But going back-to-back, that's pretty impressive, no?
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's actually insane. I'm Michael Mizrahi also, right, in the grinder in the PPC.
He's won. Did he go? Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
I think so. Early, he won like 2 or 3.
I mean, there's been examples like Doyle Brunson, remember back-to-back main events. And so it's happened.
With 10 deuce also.
Right. Yeah.
How is that real?
Have you done that on the grid?
We have not done 10 deuce, and sadly.
Yeah, I know. Who better would have there been? But.
I know, right? I mean, but my friend, I just had my friend Katie Dozier on, and she had a poem about 10 deuce off and Doyle Brunson, and it was just so beautiful. Gosh. R.I.P. I really miss seeing him.
Yeah, he was a legend. In this tournament, I was actually congratulations to Aaron Cummings. He played great. I was watching him. I was kind of rooting for Travis Erdman, though, because I was up there standing by the table with my pen and paper, and he looks at me. He's like, "Hey, can you get me a PokerNews hat?" And I'm like, let me send a message. So I sent a message to Shirley Ang, our boss, and I'm like, "Hey, can you bring one over here?" She did. She brought it over, gave it to him, and he put it on. So he's playing this event, wearing his PokerNews hat, and I'm like, fingers crossed. So we could have a winner's photo, with the PokerNews hat in it. And he ended up finishing in runner-up, though, $104,000. But still, that was like a little fun sweat for a marketing PR angle, So
nice work.
Another event was a $500 freeze-out. This was event number 61 on the schedule. Massive 5,082 entries. You were one of them. Only one, because it's a freeze-out.
I was only one. I like how most of my summer has gone. I ran up a huge stack and then busted in heartbreaking fashion. That seems to be like the theme for the summer. Like my one actual deep run was the online bracelet event that got canceled. And I was like, had 100 big blinds, and all the disconnected people didn't even help me. It like made my journey harder. So yeah, it's been a summer of like some tragic results, but it was an awesome field. I mean, it was a great event.
I didn't know that you were part of that canceled. We talked about that a lot on the podcast.
I'm sure.
It was Craig Savage coming out on top for $229,000, defeating Tony Harrison. Heads up, a shout out to Robbie Schiffbauer, a friend of mine who finished in third for $113,000. So I like these freeze-outs. I want to see more of these. I think a lot of other players do, maybe evidenced by this massive over 5,000 player field. I feel like we talked about guarantees, and I just think there are things in the poker world that need to be reassessed, revisited, and like where can we take it from here? And I think even Matt Savage, who introduced reentries to the industry, has said like that's a Pandora's box he wishes he could close. Unfortunately, it is here to stay, but I do see like the rise of freeze-outs.
I love it.
Yeah?
And I also love the one reentry that is in effect for the WSOP ladies, PokerStars, for so many of their events and EPTs. They have one reentry, sometimes one reentry each day. So it really limits the number of reentries, even if you have one or two possible. I think that there should be more of those.
And I agree. So like the MSPT, when I worked there, is a good example. Was the last thing you want is somebody to travel in from afar, looking forward to this event, and then get coolered within 10 minutes and then don't have the option, right? So in those instances, I do think at least one reentry is great. As for freeze-outs, like it's harder to do a weekend stop and have it be a freeze-out because nobody wants to come in and chance that. But like at the WSOP or these bigger festivals, more freeze-outs is better, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. It's like I would love to run only freeze-outs in concept. It's like I always thought about this. Like there's actually chess tournaments you can re-enter. Funny enough, you can like switch from the longer schedules to the shorter ones if your tournament started poorly. But it's generally people don't do it that much, or you do it only if you're hunting the prize money. But overall, it's like when you enter a tournament, it's like, okay, good luck to you, play your best and hope you win. And if you're out, you're out. But obviously from a business perspective, allowing unlimited reentries makes more money, right? So I do think like that kind of one reentry that the ladies and a lot of the PokerStars stuff is doing, it feels to me like the Goldilocks zone where, like you said, if you're a recreational player, you show up, you get coolered immediately. You're like, well, poker sucks, But you also don't want pros firing 20 bullets in every flight until they bag the chip lead.
Well, let us talk about a new poker show that is coming out. It's kind of in conjunction with Poker Night in America, which I've played on before many years ago. It's like 10 years ago now. But Poker Night in America, Todd Anderson, all those guys put on a great product. And they are debuting a new show called Hellmuth's Home Game with Phil Hellmuth, of course. It's going to premiere this Monday night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. It was a pretty cool lineup because I got a sneak peek of it. Dan Cates is in there. I think Juan Liu is in there, and then Hellmuth and friends. It was quite exciting. I like Hellmuth. Let me just ask you guys' opinion. Like Hellmuth fans or not, like it's always up or down. Even on this show, Mike, not the biggest Hellmuth fan. Me, pretty big Hellmuth fan.
I'll let you go first.
I was gonna let you go first. Not the biggest fan.
That's fair.
I think as a kid, I loved watching him on TV. And I do think he brings some positive aspects to the game. In my personal interactions with him, which have been somewhat limited, he was pretty disrespectful and obnoxious. I don't know. I think I have a distaste for people who think they're all that. And he is all that. So it's always extra challenging when they put their money where their mouth is. But to me, everyone's a person and you should treat other people with respect. So
sure.
Not
That's
my
fair.
favorite guy.
Yeah, for me, I have very polarized opinions. So that's why I wanted to let Josh go first to see what he was going to say, because I see so many great things about Hellmuth. I mean, like just the energy. I feel like when you're watching him on TV, he has this like larger than life persona. And he just always seems to go after it. He just turned 60 recently, and he just seems to be just like more energetic than ever and constantly going after things. But then, yes, definitely like at the table, I think when it's, especially if it's somebody who's not really feeling it, vibing with it, the rudeness can be like, some people love it, right? Some people are like, oh, it's like a badge of honor to get insulted by Hellmuth, but that's not everyone, right?
For sure. So for me with Hellmuth is, we grew up in the same area, Madison, Wisconsin, right? So I just feel like being from the same neck of the woods and growing up in the same culture, the same people, same circles, like I just understand him pretty well. I've also seen the side of him away from the table and how generous he can be with charities and things like that. And I also do think the poker brat is not a act. Like that's him, because he is passionate about the game and when he's there. But I do agree that sometimes, the narcissist in him gets the better of him a little bit, and he doesn't always treat some people the way he should. But overall, I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of Hellmuth's Home Game, the new show, because obviously if his name's on it, he's going to love it. He's going to promote it pretty hard. And I actually have a little clip to give you a taste about what it's like. Check it out.
I had a friend who had a chance to invest in Uber.
Are you kidding?
Passed.
Wow.
Another friend of mine put in $25,000. That's worth $100 million now.
Oh my goodness.
It is. And another friend.
I didn't check. What the
another friend had a deal to buy 2%, and it didn't
I straddled.
Happen. You straddled.
Yeah, I straddled. I have not looked at my hand yet. That was a straddle. That was a straddle. That's why I put 100 out.
It's okay.
Okay. Flip that card face over. Can you just turn the cards around?
Turn the cards around.
Face down.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll figure it out from there.
All right. You can check out more of Hellmuth's Home Game by Poker Night in America this Monday, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm sure there's going to be future episodes, so check it out. I want to ask about the two of you. Josh, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit more about Play Live Melbourne, which I talked to you in the studio before we started recording. Like, one of my favorite cities in the world. Used to go there for the Aussie Millions, WSOP Asia Pacific. Haven't been there since before the pandemic, and I miss it. But like, you got a lot of good things going on down there.
Yeah, definitely. That story that you told is like, it feels like that's the classic story I hear from everyone. And it was true for me as well. Like I used to go for Aussie Millions all the time, and then COVID and the Aussie Millions was gone and I hadn't been. And then my business partner convinced me to move out there. I mean, it's a culmination. This is going to sound so cheesy, but it's so true. My business partner tried to do this 15 years ago. And it's been my dream since I was a little kid to like run my own tournaments, because I spent my entire childhood, adolescence, and adult years playing tournaments. Chess, poker. I was an esports competitor in a couple of titles. I played card games. I mean, you name it. I think I've been to 2,000 live tournaments or something. I wouldn't know the exact number. And I think our goal is to bring people back to Melbourne for poker. We're the first kind of dedicated, proper poker room in the history of Melbourne, which is something I'm very proud of, and something that was obviously tremendously difficult to get off the ground. But to me, it's like the culmination of my career. Like I was a startup guy, and I've worked in the poker industry, and I've been a player, and I kind of combined all those things, like experience fundraising and building brands and businesses, plus like what did I want as a player? You know, like what do I think operators are doing well? What are they doing poorly? And I'm so proud to say, like, we have the best dealers in Australia, some of the best dealers in the world. We have great staff. I mean, you can ask anyone that's played our tournaments, like the vibe is good. We run it professionally. We really care a lot. And I don't want to say like poker operators don't care. Some do, some don't. And there's a range, but we're just poker players and people who've worked in the industry who've always dreamed of having our own environment. And now we do. And we have our second series coming up, July 17th, our winter championship. Our first series was really awesome. It was my first time running a series. It was very hectic. Got to wear a suit every day and pretend to be a real adult. So that's always a fun time. July 17th, we're kicking off our second series. And I think for us, this is like our attempt at kind of growing to the next level and starting to show the world that like, hey, that we want this to be a legitimate destination for poker.
Right.
Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a month, but in the next few months, couple of years, I want people to be traveling internationally for our series. I really want to put our name on the map.
It would be fantastic, because I don't think people who maybe are newer to the industry or never got to go there, but like the Aussie Millions was a premier stop on the poker schedule, right? It was every January. This was before there was a WSOP Paradise or anything. So it was like your winter series that you traveled to is Aussie Millions, and then you had the WSOP during the summer, right? But now you got a little more competition, but like, and the Aussie Millions for me, having been to hundreds of stops was always my favorite. And so I would love to see poker in Australia start building up, which I know it already is. Like compared to where it was 3 years ago and now, it's like it's on that upward trajectory. So I'm excited. I want to get down there. I told you, like, we got to try to do a Poker News podcast from there sometime. The first Poker News podcast from Australia. So
we'll get a cool like a beachy backdrop, even though we're right in the middle of the city in Melbourne. We're like down the street from the casino in South Melbourne Market, but we'll do the whole like stereotypical, you know, Australia beach backdrop and build a nice little set. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Things are trending in the right direction, not just for us, but for the Australian poker scene in general. Crown even like put on a big series recently, and they've actually been really supportive of us, which has been such a nice surprise. A lot of my managers and our higher ups used to work there for a long time, so I think there's a lot of good blood. I don't know if that expression exists, but like whatever the opposite of there we go. I'm pointing it. The opposite of bad blood, you know. And I think there's a kind of common feeling in Australia that the scene deserves to grow again, and they know that people like it, and they know that people miss Aussie Millions. And, you know, there's a desire to kind of bring the glory days back. And I'm hoping that we'll be spearheading that.
I think it's coincidental timing as well, because it's the 20th anniversary of Joe Hasham winning the main event, right? Which did help spark a boom in Australian poker.
For sure.
I don't know if he's going to be here this summer. I messaged him earlier. I know he said his son was getting married. So I don't know if he's coming in for any of the WSOP, the main event or what have you. But I really would like, I want him to, because I want to interview him like on the 20th anniversary. I mean, Joe Hasham was right there at the peak of the poker boom. So, and was at one time PokerStars Team Pro, not any longer. A good transition over here. What's coming up for you? What are you excited about? I know we were talking about this massive ladies event. I know you're always involved in the women's poker initiatives, especially with PokerStars.
Oh yeah, well, PokerStars actually has one coming up in London, the Women's Summer Festival, which is bouncing off of its incredibly successful winter festival at the Hippodrome last November that your co-host, your typical co-host, who I'm sitting
excited.
in for, we had a blast. It was so much fun. So that's coming back in mid-August. And then, of course, the NAPT is coming to Las Vegas. And tonight we have the final table of, as you mentioned, the largest women's event in history. And I'm super excited. I'm going to be calling it with Lon for Poker Go. So yeah, just keeping it rolling. I really feel like there's so much positive energy around women in poker right now. And one thing that I've noticed is that the players are getting more skilled and they really study together. So I've noticed that in both chess and poker, what you often saw in the past is that women would sometimes rely on their male contacts in the field to discuss strategy with, which is fine. It's good too. But sometimes when the women became friends with each other, I felt like they weren't like actually advancing their game as much as I've seen lately. Now I really see like the women groups actually talking poker and getting so good. And it's also made the atmosphere better, I think, because if you like suck out on someone or 3-bet them twice, they're not like,
right.
I hate you. Or maybe they are. I don't know. But it's a little different than it used to be in that way. So yeah, it's exciting times for sure for women's poker.
It's got to be exciting to get in the booth, especially with Lon. And in this tournament in particular, like I said, the largest ever, 1,368 runners, more than $1.2 million in the prize pool. I strolled through the field on day one. It's always fun, right? I get to see a lot of people. I saw my old coworker at PokerNews, 2 of them actually, Christy Arnett, which is now Christy Moreno. Her and her husband went deep in the tag team event. I saw Pam Maldonado, who used to be our social media, head of social media, and now she's moved on to big things with ESPN, Sports Center in that world. She's really killing it. I saw Kathy Liebert, Poker Hall of Fame nominee in the field. And one of my favorites, Shireen Askui, who was on TV show Survivor, 2 seasons of it. And so I'm a big Survivor geek nerd. And so to see her in the field was very cool. There is going to be, let me see what the top prize is there.
186?
184. 184,000.
Payouts. I guess the World Series says that.
Well, they do 15% now. So 15% of the field gets paid, which I think is great, especially like in a main event or a women's event. I think it's fantastic. And, I can't help myself, but earlier in the show, I said I had 2 ideas and I now realize that they're probably both bad, which is why you shouldn't come up with ideas in a 5-minute segment and then go with them. Because I'm like, suppose you gave somebody a prize for, having like the jack of hearts in their hand. They just keep folding till they got the jack of hearts.
Oh, that's true.
So, or even if it was on the flop. So this is the example, though. It is, you actually have to think really hard to come up with ways to give somebody like a big prize.
Yeah,
Gamers are good at exploiting systems, right? That's our thing,
And if there was a big enough market for a tournament and predicting the number of entries, then you would actually try to skew the market by having some people show up or re-entering. So yeah,
like a sports betting hustle kind of thing.
So all these great ideas that I have, just getting.
Well, pop quiz for you two.
Next.
I mentioned it's the 20th anniversary of Joe Hashim winning the main event. Also the 20th anniversary of this player winning the women's event. Do you know who won this event?
Yes, I do.
2005?
I do. My favorite.
She's
Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly.
The legend.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would have been my first guess.
Yeah, she in 2005, and she's been loving the game ever since. And she's one of our favorites. She's one of Kindness favorites, and big fan of Jennifer Tilly for sure.
Who doesn't like Jennifer Tilly? I mean, honestly, I can't think of anyone. Oh wait, who's the player she kept beating in the big game? Was that maybe?
I mean, she crushes the big game, and
Yeah.
We talked about that last week when James Hardigan was co-hosting, and check out the new episodes of the big game that are happening right now, or we'll be back here very shortly. And speaking of PokerStars, let's plug the NAPT, which is coming up in November, the 3rd through the 12th. This is at Resorts World, so I'll probably be back in Vegas at that time. We mentioned the women's event at the WSOP. Well, there's going to be a women's event November 9th through the 10th, $330 buy-in, $50K guaranteed, which they will honor that guarantee. I guarantee that. And there's also going to be a women's high roller, $1,100 buy-in on November 10th. So I know those are two events that you got to be looking forward to.
Absolutely. I love this addition lately of adding a women's high roller and a main event, a women's main event. I think it's really cool because it used to be so sad whenever you busted the women's event of a tournament because you're having so much fun. So I think adding that second one in is beautiful. And KJ did something similar in the Winter Festival in London. And ever since then, I've noticed more operators are doing it. It's at Venetian. Aria had an $800. So
It's a whole week now at the Women's Week, as they've been referring to it. Maybe 2 weeks worth. So
yeah, and they're adding like different prize points. I love that. Like there was one that was $150, and then there's one that's $2,500. Just like a lot of more options for women to get in there, and the NAPT will have those too. Personally, I just love being in Las Vegas in November because this is an absolutely beautiful city. And it's nice in the summer, but it's not the same because sometimes you can barely go outside. So being here in November is just such a blast.
it is going to be almost a 9-day series, thereabouts, November 3rd through the 12th. Buy-ins range from $250 to $50,000. So there's going to be a super high roller. And then, of course, the $5,300 main event is $3 million guaranteed November 6th through the 12th. They're already starting to give away gold passes to the NAPT. The first one was awarded in the meetup game, which you saw earlier in the episode. There's going to be plenty of other opportunities to win another. And should be a fun series, something to look forward to. Mark your calendars after the WSOP is done. Speaking of the WSOP, the last story is in just a few days, the WSOP main event is going to get underway. Day 1A, July 2nd. This runs, I don't even know, 12 days long, 13, 14 when you take into account all the starting flights. Are you guys playing the main event? Are you excited for the main event? Let's talk WSOP main event.
Always very excited in the main event. I mean, it's like the dream tournament, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I lost a flip in one of the main event satellites online, like my first day in Vegas this summer for a main event seat, which sucked. So I'll probably still play. Every year I'm like, I'm not going to play. 10K, I'm going to have to sell. And and then it comes around and the FOMO hits so hard. And you're like, well, it's the main, I guess. Okay, I'll play, So I assume that will be how my summer goes again.
Do you have a preference on what starting flight you end up playing? Like I know in my experience, it's usually day 1A is the smallest. And I don't know, honestly, I say like medium challenge, right? There are some amateurs, but there's a good amount of pros. Then I think, day 1B kind of the same, but 1C and 1D that just expands and you get a lot more amateurs, recreational players, but you also get a lot more pros that are there to feast, if you will. Thoughts on, starting flight?
If your schedule can allow, I think it's 1A or B, and it's not even close, because I think that this tournament is absolutely ruling. We talked about Hellmuth earlier, and I couldn't agree with him more that the tournament is incredibly grueling for anyone over the age of 35, honestly, but maybe even anyone, depending on your like constitution and how easily you can get to sleep. So it's like, I think you want that extra. If you play 1A or 1B, then you get an extra day off between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Which, could be the difference.
Yeah.
Those extra 8 hours of sleep could be the difference of you being a little bit more alert on 5 and 6 and still being able to play off that adrenaline.
Absolutely. Well, then this begs the question too. And Kaina and I had this conversation after last year's WSOP main event, where neither of us did really well on day one. Was like, they have late reg now throughout day one, and you can actually late reg in 2 levels into day 2. Like, are you guys fans of late reg? Do you do it yourself, or do you prefer, especially for the main event, to be there, from the get-go? Josh, what about you?
I think I'm never late regging the main specifically.
Yeah,
if I'm playing the 500 freeze out, I pretty much try and not max late reg, but close to it.
Yeah.
And just, I think Jen's point about stamina, like nothing teaches you that like chess tournaments, right? Like the third day of a chess tournament, your brain is cooked. And so I think late regging is a good way to have your day one of a tournament just like be not as exhausting, and then you have more energy for day 2. But for the main, like, first of all, people are so nervous to bust. So there are huge opportunities on day 1 to just like put in really aggressive check raises and just like kind of inflate pots and spots where your opponent's really uncomfortable. And also it's the main. Like if I'm paying $10,000 to play the main event, like I'm doing it to play.
Yeah.
But I do very much agree with Jen's assessment, like A or B, even if the field's a little bit tougher, it's probably worth it just for the extra rest day. My only advice is never play on July 4th, or at least this is like the meta that I've heard, right? Because it's like all the Euros will play, you know what I mean? Because they're like, don't really care about July 4th. It's not a holiday to them. I think people who are like very anti-partying, who probably are very pro-studying, end up playing on that day sometimes. So I don't know. I think, A or B, no July 4th, and no late reg for me.
Good advice for sure.
No late reg for the main event. I love late regging, but not for the main event, not for the ladies WSOP either, because that's like my mini main event. The ladies WSOP is just, I love that event. And I remember last year, the WSOP put in 4 mainstream journalists that Maria Ho had coached like the night prior. And they by coaching, I meant like she taught them the rules the night prior. And one of them was at my table, and they were awesome to talk to. Forbes woman, great contact. But like, I think at some point she didn't realize that you were allowed to fall. Like she was like raising or calling, because I think Maria was really good about teaching her the importance of aggression.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're learning from Maria, she's like, and then you 3-bet them,
Exactly. She's like, oh, you can do that? I was like, yeah, and so you have to be there at hand 1, because there are similar types in 10K, like celebrities and stuff that might show up. So yeah, you got to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I usually like to late reg, but the main event is just so special. I kind of want to be there from the opening bell, so to speak. So, well, that is going to do it for this episode of the Poker News podcast. I really appreciate you two taking the time. We have 2 episodes a week during the 2025 World Series of Poker. Of course, every Sunday and then every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So next episode on Thursday, the main event will have been underway. Day 1 will be already complete. I don't know if I'll play that one, or you two will, or Kaina or Mike. We'll have to figure it out, but like it's main event time, and that's when, the rubber meets the road, as they say. So, Josh, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
I had a blast. Yeah. Thank you.
You'll always be welcome back. And again, we will be back at 8 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday. Until then, we'll keep a seat open for you.